This is now the same patient, but with another episode of arrhythmia. You can see that this is once more a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia. You can see here the onset of the charge, but then a reduction of the arrhythmia, a spontaneous reduction. The device will go to the end of the charge, and at the end of the charge we'll try to confirm the presence of the arrhythmia. Since there has been a reduction, no shock will be delivered, and then you can see here this marker of the end of episode. Then you will see in the memory another episode for the same patient of a non-sustained ventricular arrhythmia, once more the charge, the end of the charge, but no shock is delivered. And we will see that more cycles here in this episode was required before the onset of charging. The smart charge is a feature that allows for extending time to detection for a patient with prior non-sustained ventricular tachycardia. And the smart charge will automatically extend initial detection time to allow self-termination of non-sustained arrhythmia. Since in this patient there has been an episode of non-sustained arrhythmia with a charge of the capacitor, at the end of the counter 18 up to 24 there is one cycle of persistence, but now the device will require for 3 additional bits of persistence, which is the case here, and then the prosthesis bit, and then the charge of the capacitor. So this is another episode for the same patient. Once more, it's a non-sustained arrhythmia with charge of the capacitors, but no therapy delivered. And you will see that since there have been previously 2 episodes of charge without delivery of the shocks, then you will require 3 additional cycles. So since there have been 2 previous episodes of non-sustainability with charge of the capacitors, the device will add first 3 and then 3 additional bits, so 6 additional bits before the processing bit and then the charge of the capacitors. So in these patients there were many episodes like this with non-sustained arrhythmia but with charge of the capacitor. So with the smart charge the device can add a maximum of 5 times. It means 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So 15 cycles of persistence may be required if there are many episodes of non-sustainability with charge of the capacitors. So this is still the same patient and with now an episode of sustained ventricular arrhythmia, and you can see that before the charge, the smart charge has delayed the onset of charge by 15 cycles of persistence, so around 1, 2, 3 seconds before the onset of the charging. So this is now another episode of sustained ventricular arrhythmia, and it's important to understand that if you have programmed the smart charge on, even if in this patient there is an episode of sustained arrhythmia requiring a shock, on the next episode you will still have these 15 additional cycles of persistence before the onset of charge. So in this patient, when you interrogate the device, you have the possibility to program the smart charge off or to reset the smart charge to return to the initial functioning of the device.